The free market is a framework by which a society can organize itself. The objective of the free market is to maximize the total value a society is able to enjoy. There are two main ways to increase value. One is through creating goods and services, the other is through the distribution of those goods and services. Creation of goods is all about taking something or some things that have one value and changing them in a way that increases their value. Trade relies on different people evaluating the same good in different ways. When that is true, if you take a good from someone who is not getting a lot of value out of that good and give the good to someone who would value it highly, it can be said that total value was increased. A couple quick examples of these concepts. Let's say I start with a block of wood and a block of metal. Those things have very little value unless I had need for a paperweight or some firewood. But if I was an expert craftsman, I could turn that wood and metal into a valuable electric guitar. That would be increasing value through the creation of a good. But then say I don't value the guitar I made very much. Maybe I'm tone deaf and I don't enjoy playing music anyway. Maybe there is someone who really wanted to play guitar but didn't know how to make their own. If I gave that person the guitar, they would get far more value out of it than I ever would, thus increasing total value through the distribution of goods. But how does the market incentivize all of this value generation? How can it get me to spend my time and labor making guitars? How can it get me to give the guitars I make to people who want them more than me? How does the market get me the materials I need to make guitars in the first place? The market creates all of these incentives with one simple rule. When individuals give goods and services to the market, they are allowed to take an equal value of goods and services out of the market in exchange. With each guitar I make, I am entitled to take out of the market anything I want that is equal to the value of the guitar. So if the value of the guitar is higher than the value of the raw materials plus the value of my time and labor, I will be incentivized to make guitars. Similarly, the guitarist is incentivized to provide concerts and records to the market because the market will reward her in proportion to the value of the music. Anyone wishing to consume the value of that music will in turn be required to provide proportionally valued goods and services to the market, bringing us full circle. The market determines the value of a good by arbitrating a compromise between two adversarial groups. These groups are the producers who supply the good to the market and the consumers who take the good from the market and use it. Why are these groups adversarial? Remember, the producers are entitled to a value of goods out of the market that is equal to the value of the goods they put into the market. So they want the value of the goods they put into the market to be as high as possible. The consumers, on the other hand, want the values of the goods they take out of the market to be as low as possible, so they don't have to put as high value of goods back into the market. The market arbitrates the compromise by assuming a couple of relationships between the value of a good and the quantity of that good. For guitars, the market understands consumers based on the inverse relationship between the amount of value the consumer would expect to give the market to get a guitar and the collective quantity of guitars they desire. Markets understand producers as the direct relationship between the collective number of guitars the craftsmen are willing to provide to the market and the value they would expect to receive in exchange for a guitar. The value of a guitar is then set at the price where producers are willing to provide the same number of guitars that consumers are willing to pay for. Looking at this visually, with value of the good on the y-axis, quantity of the good on the x-axis, with producers, the more they can get out of providing the goods to the market, the more of the good they will want to provide. With consumers, the less value they have to give to the market, more of the good will be desired. With this system, a market with many consumers and producers will, in theory, be self-balanced by the collective forces of competing incentives. If the market overvalued a good, the producers will supply the market with more of the good than consumers want, which forces the market to drop its value assessment. If the market undervalues a good, more consumers will want the good than producers are willing to provide, which will cause a shortage and force the market to raise its value assessment. But before we can look at how these market forces work in practice, this model asks us to make one tiny, not at all insane assumption. And that is that money can be used as a placeholder to represent value. Making this assumption allows the market to take the abstract, multifaceted concept of value and distill it into one number, the price. When we replace value with price in our market visual, we have our supply and demand curves.